ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Namaskar my dear friends, this is video number 30 on Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. This video starts with chapter number 28 and topic Master's God intoxicated condition. I became mad. Narayan Shastri came here and saw me roaming about with a bamboo pole on my shoulder. He said to the people, "Ah, he is mad." In that state, I could not observe any caste restrictions. The wife of a low caste man used to send me cooked greens and I ate them. I touched my head and lips with the leaf plates from which the beggars ate their food in the guest house of the Kali temple. Thereupon Halbhari said to me, "What have you done? You have taken the food left by beggars. How will you marry off your children?" These words aroused my anger. Halbhari was my cousin, older than myself. But could that restrain me? I said to him, "You wretch, is not it your is not it you who take pride in the study of the Gita and the Vedanta? Is not it you who teach people that Brahma alone is real and the world illusory? And yet you imagine that I shall beget children? May your mouth that recites from the Gita be blighted." To M, you see, mere study of books avails nothing. One may recite the returned part for the drum glibly from memory, but to play the drum is exceedingly difficult. The master continued with the description of his divine madness. Once for a few days I was out on an excursion with Mathur Babu in his houseboat. We took the trip for a change of air. During that trip we visited Navadip. One day I saw the boatmen cooking their meal and stood and watched them. Mathur said to me, "What are you doing there?" I replied with a smile, "The boatmen are cooking and their food looks very good." Mathur felt that I might ask the boatmen to give me a portion of their food, and so he said, "Come away, come away." But I cannot do such a thing now. I am no longer in that mood. Now the food must be cooked by a Brahmin observing ceremonial purity and be offered to the deity. Then only can I take it. Oh, what moods I passed through. At Kamarpukur, I said to Chine, Sankhari, and the other chums of my boyhood days, "Oh, I fall at your feet and beg of you to utter the name of Hari." I was about to prostrate myself before them all. Thereupon Chinne said, "This is the first outburst of your divine love. So you don't see any distinction between one man and the another. When the storm breaks and raises the dust, then mango and tamarind trees look the same. One cannot distinguish the one from the other. A devotee, how can a householder keep on with his worldly duties if he is overwhelmed by such bhakti madness or love madness or knowledge madness? Two kinds of yogis, master, looking at him. There are two kinds of yogis, the revealed and the hidden. The householder may be a hidden yogi, none recognizes him. The householder should renounce mentally, not outwardly. Ram, you talk as if you were consoling children. A householder may be a jnani, but never a vijnani. Master, he may become a vijnani in the end, but it is not good to force oneself into renunciation. Ram, Keshav Sen used to say, why do people go to him so much? One day he will sting them and they will free from him. Master, why should I sting people? I say to people, do this as well as that. Do your worldly duties and call on God as well. I don't ask them to renounce everything with a smile. One day, Keshav was delivering a lecture. He said, O Lord, grant us that we may dive into the river of divine love and go straight to the ocean of Satchitananda. The ladies were seated behind the screen. I said to Keshav, how can you all die once for all? Pointing to the ladies, I said, then what would happen to them? Every now and then you must return to dry land. You must dive and rise alternately. Keshav and the others laughed. Hajra says to me, you love most those endowed with rajas, those who have great wealth and name and fame. If that is so, then why do I love people like Harish and Noto? Why do I love Narendra? He can't even afford salt to season his roast banana. Sri Ramakrishna left his from and went towards the pine grove talking with aim. A devotee followed them with water and towel. The master was talking about the intended visit to the Star Theatre. He said to M, what Ram says applies to Rajasic people. What is the use of reserving an expensive seat? About 5 o'clock that afternoon, Sri Ramakrishna was on his way to Calcutta. M. Mahendra Mukherjee and a few other devotees accompanied him in Mahendra's carriage. Thinking of God, the master soon went into an ecstatic mood. After a long time, he regained consciousness of the world. He observed, that fellow Hazra dares tease me, the rascal. After a short pause, he said, shall drink some water. He often made such remarks in order to bring his mind down to the sense plane. Mahendra, 2M, may I get some refreshments for him? M, no, he won't eat anything now. Master, still in ecstatic mood, I shall eat. Mahendra took the master to his flour mill located at Hathi Bagan. After a little rest, Sri Ramakrishna was to go to the theatre. Mahendra did not care to take him to his own house, for the master was not well acquainted with his father. Priyanath Mahendra Priyanath Mahendra's second brother was also a devotee of the master. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on a cot over which a carpet had been spread and was engaged in spiritual talk. Master to M and others, once while listening to the various incidents of the life of Chaitanya, Hazra said that these were manifestations of Shakti and that Brahma, the all-pervasive spirit, had nothing to do with them. But can there be Shakti without Brahma? Hazra wants to nullify the teachings of this place. Identity of Brahma and Shakti. I have realized that Brahma and Shakti are identical, like water and its wetness, like fire and its power to burn. Brahma dwells in all beings as the Vibhu, the all-pervasive consciousness, though its manifestation is greater in some places than in others. Hajra says further that anyone who realizes God must also acquire God's supernatural powers, that he possesses these powers, though he may or may not use them. And yes, one must have control over these supernatural powers. All love, master smiling. Yes, one must have them in one's grasp. How mean he who has never enjoyed power and riches becomes impatient for them. But a true devotee never prays to God for them. Sri Ramakrishna washed his face. A smoke was prepared for him. He said to M, "Is it dusk now? If it is, I won't smoke. During the twilight hour of the dusk, you should give up all other activities and remember God." Seeing this, he looked at the hairs on his arm. He wanted to see whether he would count them. If he could not, it would be dusk. Master at Star Theatre. About 8:30 in the evening, the carriage with the master and the devotees drew up in front of the Star Theatre on Bidden Street. He was accompanied by M. Baburam, Mahendra, and two or three others. They were talking about engaging seats when Grish Chandra Ghosh, the manager of the theatre, accompanied by several officials, came out to the carriage, greeted the master, and took him and the party upstairs. Grish had heard of the master and was very glad to see him at the theatre. The master was conducted to one of the boxes and sat next to him. Baburam and one or two devotees sat behind. The hall was brilliantly lighted. The master looked down at the pit and saw that it was crowded. The boxes also were full. For every box there was a man to fan those who occupied it. Sri Ramakrishna was filled with joy and said to M with his childlike smile. Ah, it is very nice here. I am glad to have come. I feel inspired when I see so many people together. Then I clearly perceive that God Himself has become everything. And it is true, sir. Master, how much will they charge us here? And they won't take anything. They are very happy that you have come to the theatre. Master, it is all due to the grace of the Divine Mother. The Chaitanya Leela was about to be performed. It was a play about the early life of Sri Chaitanya, who was also known as Nimai, God, Gora, and Goranga. The curtain rose. The attention of the audience was fixed on the stage. The first scene depicts a council of sin and the six persons on a forest path. Behind them walk Viveka, Vairagya, and Bhakti engaged in conversation. Bhakti says to her companions, Gauranga is born in Nadia, therefore the Vidyadharis, the Manis, and the Rishis have come down to earth in disguise to pay their respect to him. She sings, Blessed indeed is the earth, Gora is born in Nadia, behold the Vidyadharis coming in chariots to adore him. Behold the Munis and Rishis who come allured by the spell of love. The Vidadharis, Munis and Rishis sing a hymn to Gauranga and adore him as an incarnation of God. Sri Ramakrishna watched the scene and was overpowered with divine ecstasy. He said to M, Look at it. Ah, ah, sages. O Kesava, bestow thy grace upon thy luckless servants here. O Kesava, who dost delight to roam Vrindavan's glades and groves. Goddesses, O Madhava, our mind's bewitcher, sweet one who dost still our hearts, sweetly playing on thy flute. Chorus, chant, O mind, the name of Hari, sing aloud the name of Hari, praise Lord Hari's name. Sages, O thou eternal youth of Brija, tamer of fears, Kalia, slayer of the afflicted fear. Goddesses, beloved with the arcing eyes and crest with arcing peacock feather, charmer of Sri Radha's heart. Sages, Govardhan's mighty lifter thou, all garlanded with sylvan flowers, O Damodara, Kansa's scores, goddesses, O dark one, who dost sport in bliss with sweet Vrindavan's gopi maids. Chorus, chant, O mind, the name of Hari, sing aloud the name of Hari, praise Lord Hari's name. As the Vidyadharis sang the lines, beloved with the arcing eyes and crest with arcing peacock feather, the master went into deep samadhi. The orchestra played on, but he was not aware of the outer world. Another scene, a guest has arrived at the house of Jagannath Misra, Nimai's father. The boy Nimai plays about, singing with his friends in a happy mood. Tell me, where is my blessed Vrindavan? Where is Mother Yashoda? Where Father Nanda and Brother Balai? Where my twin cows, black and white? Tell me, where is my magic flute? My friends Sudama and Sridama, where my Jamuna's bank, my banyan, where my beloved gopi maids, where is Radha, queen of my heart? The guest closes his eyes while offering food to the Lord. Nimai runs to him and eats the food from the plate. The guest recognizes Nimai as an incarnation of God and seeks to please him with the hymen of the 10 incarnations. Before taking leave of Gauranga's parents, he sings, Glory to Gaura, the source of bliss. Hail Gauranga, Redeemer of earth, help of the helpless, life of the living, slayer of fear in the hearts of the fearful. Age after age we see thy play, new sports unfolding, moods ever new, new waves rolling, new tales to be told. Thou who bearest the whole world's burden, shower on us the nectar of love, take away our grief and affliction. Thou in love's pleasure cave dost dwell, hope of the spring, chastiser of sin, scourge of the wicked, victory to thee. Listening to the hymen, the master was thrilled with ecstasy. The next scene is at Navadip on the bank of the Ganges. After bathing in the holy water, the Brahmin men and women engage in worship by the riverside. As they close their eyes, Nimai steals their food offerings and begins to eat them. A Brahmin loses his temper and says, You scapegrace, you rascal, you are taking away my offering for Vishnu. Ruin will seize you. Nimai holds on to the offering and is about to run away. Many of the women love him dearly and cannot bear to have him go away. They call to him, Return, O Nimai, come back, O Nimai. Nimai turns a dear ear to them. One of the women, however, knows the irresistible charm that will bring him back. She loudly chants the name of Hari. Immediately he repeats the name of Hari and comes back. Am was seated beside the master. Sri Ramakrishna could not control himself. He cried out, Ah! And shed tears of love. He said to Baburam and M, Don't make a fuss if I fall into an ecstatic mood or go into samadhi. Then the worldly people will take me for a cheat. Another scene, Nimai is invested with the sacred thread of the Brahmins. He puts on the traditional ochre robe of the sannyasi. Mother Shachi and the women of the neighborhood stand about while he begs for alms, singing, Drop a morsel of food, I pray, into my begging bowl. Alone I roam a new made yogi on the highways of the world, people of Brija, you I love, and so time and again I came to you at hunger's call. I beg my food from door to door. The sun is low, and I must seek my home on the Jamuna's bank. Into its waters fall my tears, as onward murmuring it flows. The onlookers leave the stage, Nimai stands alone. The gods in the guise of Brahmin men and women sing his praise. Man, the body gleams like liquid moonlight. Thou hast put on man's dwarfish form. O Lord, thee we salute, women. Bewitcher of the gopis' hearts, thou roamest in the shady groves about Vrindavan's vale. Nimai. Hail Sri Radha, glory to Radha. The youths of Brja are thy friends. Thou curbest haughty Madan's pride, women. Thy love has made the gopis mad. In ecstasy, the Jamuna thrills man. Narayana deludes of demons, refuse of the fear-stricken gods, women. O lover of Brija, thou dost beg the love of Brija's comedy maidens. Nimai, Hari, Sri Radha, glory to Radha. Listening to the music, the master went into Samadhi. The curtain fell and the orchestra played on. A new scene, Srivas and other devotees are engaged in conversation in front of Advaita's house. Mukunda sings, sleep no more, how long will you lie in Maya's slumber? Locked, O mind, who are you? Why have you been born? Forgotten is your own true self. O mind, unclose your eyes at last and make yourself from evil dreams. O fool, you are to bind yourself so to the passing shows of life, when in you lives eternal bliss. Come out of the gloom, O foolish mind, come out and hail the rising sun. Sri Ramakrishna praised the voice of the singer highly. Another scene, Nimai is staying at home. Srivas comes to visit him. First he meets Sati. The mother weeps and says, my son doesn't attend to his household duties. My eldest son, Viswarupa, has renounced the world, and my heart has aged ever since. Now I fear that Nimai will follow in his steps. Nimai arrives. Sati says to Srivas, look at him. Tears run down his cheeks and breast. Tell, tell me how I can free him from these notions. At the sight of Srivas, Nimai clings to his feet and says, with eyes full of tears, O me, revered sir, I have not yet attained devotion to Krishna. Futile is this wretched life. Tell me, sir, where is Krishna? Where shall I find Krishna? Give me the dust of your feet with your blessing, that I may realize the blue one with the garland of wild flowers hanging about his neck. Sri Ramakrishna looked at him. He was eager to say something, but he could not. His voice was choked with emotion. The tears ran down his cheeks. With unmoving eyes he watched Nimai clinging to Srivas's feet and saying, Sir, I have not yet attained devotion to Krishna. Nimai has opened a school, but he cannot teach the students any longer. Gangadas, his former teacher, comes to persuade him to direct his attention to his worldly duties. He says to Srivas, listen, Srivas, we are Brahmins too and devoted to the worship of Vishnu, but you people are ruining Nimai's worldly prospects. Master to M. That is the advice of the worldly wise. Do this as well as that. When the worldly man teaches spirituality, he always advises a compromise between the world and God. And yes, sir, that is true. Gangadas continues his argument with Nimai. He says, Nimai, undoubtedly you are versed in the scriptures. Reason with me. Explain to me if any other duty is superior to worldly duties. You are a householder. Why disregard the duties of a householder and follow other duties? Master to M. Did you notice he is trying to persuade Nimai to make a compromise? M. Yes, sir. Nimai says to Gangadas, I am not willfully indifferent to a householder's duties. On the contrary, it is my desire to hold to all sides. But Revered Sir, I don't know what it is that draws me on. I don't know what to do. I want to cling to the shore, but I cannot. My soul wanders away. I am helpless. My soul constantly wants to plunge headlong into the boundless ocean. Master, ah me! The scene changes. Nityananda has arrived at Navadip. After a search, he meets Nimai, who in turn has been seeking him. When they meet, Nimai says to him, Blessed is my life, fulfilled is my dream. You visited me in a dream and then disappeared. The master said in a voice choked with emotion. Nimai said he had seen him in a dream. Nimai is in an ecstatic mood and becomes engaged in conversation with Advaita, Srivas, Haridas, and other devotees. Nimai sings a song suited to Nimai's mood. Nitai sings a song suited to Nimai's mood. Where is Krishna? Where is my Krishna? He is not in the grove. Dear friends, give me Krishna. Bring me my Krishna. Radha's heart knows not but him. At this song, Sri Ramakrishna went into Samadhi. He remained in that state a long time. The orchestra the orchestra played on. Gradually his mind came down to the relative plane. In the meantime, a young man of Khardaha, born in the holy family of Nityananda, had entered the box. He was standing behind the master's chair. Sri Ramakrishna was filled with delight at the sight of him. He held his hand and talked to him affectionately. Every now and then he said, Please sit down here. Your very presence awakens my spiritual feeling. He played tenderly with the young man's hands and lovingly stroked his face. After he had left, Sri Ramakrishna said to M. He is a great scholar. His father is a great devotee of God. When I go to Khardaha to visit Shama Sundar, The Father entertains me with sacred offerings such as one spirit. At the sight of him, my spiritual mood is aroused. I should have been overwhelmed with ecstasy if he had stayed here a little longer. The curtain rises. Nityananda is walking in a procession on the public road with his companions chanting the name of Hari. He meets two ruffians, Jagai and Madhai, who are sworn enemies of all religious people. Madhai strikes Nitai with a piece of broken pottery. Nitai is hurt and bleeds profusely, but he pays no heed. Inebriated as he is with the love of God, Sri Ramakrishna was in an ecstatic mood. Nitai embraces both Jagai and Madhai and sings a song to the two ruffians. Jagai, Madhai, oh, come and dance, chanting Hari's name with fervor. What does it matter that you struck me? Dance, dear friends, in Hari's name. Sing the name of our beloved. He will embrace you in love's rapture. Let the heavens resound with his name. You have not tasted true emotion. Weep as you chant the name of Hari, and you will see the moon of your soul. Hari's name would I lovingly give you. Nitai calls you to share his love. Nimai speaks to Sachi of his desire to enter the monastic life. His mother faints and falls to the ground. At this point, many in the audience burst into tears. Sri Ramakrishna remained still and looked intently at the stage. A single tear appeared in the corner of each eye. The performance was over. Sri Ramakrishna was about to enter a carriage. A devotee asked him how he had enjoyed the play. The master said with a smile, I found the representation the same as the real. The carriage proceeded towards Mahendra's mill. Suddenly, Sri Ramakrishna went into an ecstatic mood and murmured to himself in loving tones, O Krishna, O Krishna, Krishna is knowledge, Krishna is soul, Krishna is mind, Krishna is life, Krishna is body. He continued, O Govinda, thou art my life, thou art my soul. The carriage reached the mill. Mahendra fed the master tenderly with various dishes and sat by his side. Affectionately he said to M, here eat a little. He put some sweets in his hands. With Mahendra and a few other devotees, Sri Ramakrishna left in the carriage for the Dakshineswar temple garden. The master was in a happy mood. He sang a song about Gauranga and Nitai and sang with him. God and Nitai, ye blessed brothers, I have heard how kind you are, and therefore I have come to you. The master and the Mahendra talked about the latter's in intended pilgrimage. Master smiling, the divine love in you is barely a sprout now. Why should you let it wither? But come back very soon. Many a time I have thought of visiting your place. At last I have done it. I am so happy. Mahendra, my life is indeed blessed, sir. Master, you were already blessed. Your father is also a good man. I saw him the other day. He has faith in the Adhyatma Ramayana. Mahendra, please bless me that I may have love for good. Master, you are generous and artless. One cannot realize God without sincerity and simplicity. God is far, far away from the crooked heart. Near Sham Bazar, Mahendra bade the master goodbye and the carriage continued on its way. Chapter 29. The Durga Puja Festival. Friday, September 26, 1884. Sri Ramakrishna had come to Calcutta. It was the first day of the Durga Puja, the great religious festival, and the Hindus of the metropolis were celebrating it. The master intended to visit the image of the Divine Mother at the Adhar's house. He also wanted to see Shivanath, the Brahmo devotee. It was about midday. Umbrella in hand, M was pacing the footpath in front of the Brahmo Samaj temple. 2 hours had passed, but the master had not yet appeared. Now and then Anne sat down on the steps of Dr. Mahal Mahalanavis's dispensary and watched the joy and mirth of the people, young and old, who were celebrating the puja. A little after 3, the master's carriage drove up. As soon as Sri Ramakrishna stepped out, he saluted the temple of the Brahmo Samaj with folded hands. Hajra and a few other devotees were with him, and bowed before the master and took the dust off his feet. The master told him that he was going to Shivnath's house. A few minutes later, several members of the Brahmo Samaj came and took him to Shivnath's, but Shivnath was not at home. Shortly afterwards, Vijay Goswami, Mahal Navish, and several other Brahmo leaders greeted the master and took him inside the Brahmo temple. Sri Ramakrishna was in a happy mood. He was given a seat below the altar. There the Brahmo devotees sang their devotional music. Vijay and the Brahmo devotees sat in front of the master. Master to Vijay with a smile. I was told that you had put up a signboard here that people belonging to other faiths are not allowed to come in. Narendra too said to me, you should not go to the Brahmo Samaji. You had better visit Shivnath's house. Master's Catholicity. But I say that we are all calling on the same God. Jealousy and malice need not be. Some say that God is formless and some that God has form. I say, let one man meditate on God with form if he believes in form, and let another meditate on the formless deity if he does not believe in form. What I mean is that dogmatism is not good. It is not good to feel that my religion alone is true and other religions are false. The correct attitude is this: my religion is right, but I do not know whether other religions are right or wrong, true or false. I say this because One cannot know the true nature of God unless one realizes Him. Kabir used to say, God with form is my mother, the formless is my father. Which shall I blame? Which shall I praise? The two pens of the same scales are equally heavy. Different paths for different temperaments. Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Shaktas, Shaivas, Vaishnavas, the Brahmagyanis of the time of the rishis, and you, the Brahmagyanis of modern times, all seek the same object. A mother prepares dishes to suit the stomachs of her children. Suppose a mother have 5 children and a fish is brought for the family. She doesn't cook pilau or kalia for all of them. All have not the same power of digestion. So she prepares a simple stew for some, but she loves all her children equally. Do you know my attitude? I love all the preparations of fish. I have a womanly nature or love. I feel myself at home with every dish fried fish. Fish cooked with turmeric powder, pickled fish, and further, I equally relish rich preparations like fish head, kalia, and pilau, all love. Do you know what the truth is? God has made different religions to suit different aspirants, times, and countries. All doctrines are only so many paths, but a path is by no means God Himself. Indeed, one can reach God if one follows any of the paths with wholehearted devotion. Suppose there are errors in the religion that one has accepted. If one is sincere and earnest, then God Himself will correct those errors. Suppose a man has set out with a sincere desire to visit Jagannath at Puri and by mistake has gone north instead of south, then certainly someone meeting him on the way will tell him, my good fellow, don't go that way, go to the south, and the man will reach Jagannath sooner or later. If there are errors in other religions, that is none of our business. God, to whom the world belongs, takes care of that. Our duty is somehow to visit Jagannath. To the Brahmos, the view you hold is good indeed. You describe God as formless. That is fine. One may eat a cake with icing either straight or sidewise. It will taste sweet either way. Dogmatism condemned. But dogmatism is not good. You have no doubt heard the story of the chameleon. A man entered a wood and saw a chameleon on a tree. He reported to his friends, I have seen a red lizard. He was firmly convinced that it was nothing but red. Another person, after visiting the tree, said, I have seen a green lizard. He was firmly convinced that it was nothing but green. But the man who lived under the tree said, what both of you have said is true. But the fact is that The creature is sometimes red, sometimes green, sometimes yellow, and sometimes has no color at all. God has been described in the Vedas as both with attributes and without. You describe him as without form only. That is one-sided, but never mind. If you know one of his aspects truly, you will be able to know his other aspects too. God himself will tell you all about them. Pointing to two or three Brahmo devotees, those who come to your smas know both this gentleman and that. Engagement to encouragement to Vijay. Vijay still belonged to the Sadharan Brahmo Samaj. He was a salaried preacher of that organization but could not obey all its rules and regulations. He mixed with those who believed in God with form. This was creating a misunderstanding between him and the Brahmo authorities. Many Brahmos disapproved of his conduct. The master suddenly looked at Vijay and began to talk to him. Master to Vijay, smiling. I understand that they have been finding fault with you for mixing with those who believe in God with form. Is that true? He who is a devotee of God must have an understanding that cannot be shaken under any conditions. He must be like the anvil in a blacksmith's shop. It is constantly being struck by the hammer, still it is unshaken. Bad people may abuse you very much and speak ill of you, but you must bear with them all of if you sincerely seek God. Is not it possible to think of God in the midst of the wicked? Just think of the rishis of ancient times. They used to meditate on God in the forest, surrounded on all sides by tigers, bears, and other ferocious beasts. Wicked men have the nature of tigers and bears. They will pursue you to do you an injury. How to deal with wicked people? One must be careful about these few things. First, an influential man who has much money and many men under his control. He can injure you if he wants. You must be careful while talking to him. Perhaps you may have to approve what he says. Second, a dog, when it chases you or barks at you, you must stand still. Talk to it gently and pacify it. Third, a bull, if it runs after you with lowered horns, you must calm it with a gentle voice. Fourth, a drunkard, if you arouse his anger, he will abuse you, naming 14 generations of your family. You should say to him, "Hello, uncle, how are you?" Then he will be mightily pleased and sit by you and smoke. In the presence of a wicked person, I become alert. If such a man asks me whether I have a pipe for smoking, I say yes, I have. Some people have the nature of snake. They will bite you without warning. You have to discriminate a great deal in order to avoid the bite. Otherwise, your passion will be stirred up to such an extent that you will feel like doing injury in return. The companionship of a holy man is greatly needed now and then. It enables one to discriminate between the real and the unreal. Vijay, I have no time, sir. I am entangled in my duties here. Master, you are a religious teacher. Others have holidays, but not so a religious teacher. When the manager of an estate brings order to one part of it, the landlord sends him to another part, so you have no leisure or love. Vijay, with folded hands, sir, please give me your blessing. Master, now you are talking like an ignorant person. It is God alone who blesses. Vijay, Revered sir, please give us some instruction. The master glanced around the Brahmo temple and said with a smile, this is nice too, a mixture of crystals and syrup. There are crystals and there is syrup too. I have scored too many points and am therefore out of the game. All laugh. Do you know the game called Nax? It is a game of cards and anyone scoring above 17 is out of the game. Those who score fewer points, say 5, 7 or 10 are clever. I have scored too many and am out of the game. Once Keshav Sen gave a lecture at his house. I was present. Many people were there. The ladies were seated behind the screen. Keshav, in the course of his talk, said, "O God, please bless us that we may dive and disappear altogether in the river of bhakti." I said to Keshav with a smile, if you disappear altogether in the river of bhakti, then what will be the fate of those behind the screen? By all means, dive into the river, but you have better come back to dry land now and then. Don't disappear in the river altogether. At these words, Keshav and the others burst out laughing. Never mind, never mind. One can realize God in the world too if only one is sincere. I and mine, that is ignorance. But O God, thou and thine, that is knowledge. Advice to householders. Live in the world like a maid servant in a rich man's house. She performs all the household duties, brings up her master's child, and speaks of him as my Hari. But in her heart she knows quite well that neither the house nor the child belongs to her. She performs all her duties, but just the same her mind dwells on her native place. Likewise, do your worldly duties, but fix your mind on God, and know that house, family, and son do not belong to you. They are God's. You are only His servant. I ask people to renounce mentally. I do not ask them to give up the world. If one lives in the world unattached and seeks God with sincerity, then one is able to attain Him, to visit. There was a time when I too would meditate on God with my eyes closed. Then I said to myself, does God exist only when I think of Him with my eyes closed? Doesn't He exist when I look around with my eyes open? Now, when I look around with my eyes open, I see that God dwells in all beings. He is the indwelling spirit of all men, animals, and other living beings, trees and plants, sun and moon, land and water. Why do I seek Shivanath? He who meditates on God for many days has substance in him, has divine power in him. Further, he who sings well, plays well on a musical instrument, or has mastered any one art has in him real substance and the power of God. This is the view of the Gita. It is said in the Chandi that he who is endowed with physical beauty has in him substance and the power of God. To Vijay, what a beautiful nature Kedar has. No one knows. He comes to me, then he burst into tears. His eyes are always red and sw- swim in tears like a chanabada in syrup. Vijay, at Dhaka he is constantly talking about you. He is always eager to see you. Sri Ramakrishna was about to depart. The Brahmo devotees bowed low before him and he returned their salute. Then, getting into the carriage, he set out for Adhar's house to see the image of the Divine Mother. Sunday, September 28, 1884. It was the day of the Mahasaptami, Mahastami, Mahastami, the most auspicious day of the worship of Durga, the Divine Mother. At Adhar's invitation, Sri Ramakrishna had come to Calcutta to see the holy image at his house. Before going there, he went to Ram's. Many devotees, including Narendra, Baburam, and Niranjan, Vijay, Kedar, Ram, and Surendra were present. Balram and Rakhal were still at Vrindavan. Master looking at Vijay and Kedar with a smile. This is a nice reunion today. You two have the same spiritual mood. To Vijay, well, what about Shivnath? Did you? Vijay, yes. Yes, sir. He heard that you had been to his house. I have not seen him, but I sent him word he knows about it. Master to Vijay and others. Four desires have come into my mind. I shall eat fish curry cooked with eggplant. I shall visit Shivnath. The devotees will repeat the name of Hari over their beads, and I shall wash them, and the tantric devotees will drink consecrated wine, eat anna's worth on the Ashtami day, and I shall wash them and salute them. Narendra was seated in front of the master. He was about 22 years old. While Sri Ramakrishna was talking thus, his eyes fell upon his beloved disciple. At once the master stood up and went into samadhi. He placed one foot on Narendra's knee. He was in a deep spiritual mood, his eyes unblinking, his mind completely unconscious of the outer world. After a long time, he came down to the relative plane of consciousness, but he still appeared dazed, for the intoxication of divine bliss had not altogether left him. Speaking to himself in that ecstatic state, he repeated the name of God. He said, Satchitananda, Satchitananda, Satchitananda. Shall I repeat that? No, it is the day of the Divine Mother, the giver of the bliss of divine inebriation. O Mother, full of the bliss of divine inebriation, Sa re ga ma pa dha ni. It is not good to keep the voice on ni. It is not possible to keep it there very long. I shall keep it on the next lower note. Difference between ordinary man and incarnation. There are different planes of consciousness: the gross, the subtle, the causal, and the great cause. Entering the Mahakarna, the great cause, one becomes silent. One cannot utter a word. But an Iswarakoti, after attaining the great cause, can come down again to the lower planes. Incarnations of God and others like them belong to the class of the Iswarakotis. They climb up and they can also come down. They climb to the roof and they can come down again by the stairs and move about on a lower floor. It is a case of negation and affirmation. There is, for instance, the seven-story palace of a king. Strangers have access only to the lower apartments, but the prince, who knows the palace to be his own, can move up and down from the floor to floor. There is a kind of rocket that throws out sparks in one pattern and then seems to go out. After a moment, it makes another pattern and then still another. There is no end to the patterns it can make. But there is another kind of rocket that when it is lighted makes only a dull sound, throws out a few sparks, and then goes out altogether. Like this second kind, an ordinary jiva, after much spiritual effort, can go to a higher plane, but he cannot come down to tell others his experiences. After much effort, he may go into samadhi, but he cannot climb down from that state or tell others what he has seen there. Nature of the ever perfect. There is a class of devotees, the Nityasiddhas, the ever perfect. From their very birth, they seek God. They do not enjoy anything of the world. Illustration of Huma bird. The Vedas speak of the Huma bird. It lives very high in the sky. There the mother bird lays her egg. She lives so high that the egg falls for many days. While falling, it is hatched. The chick continues to fall. That also goes on for many days. In the meantime, the chick develops eyes. Coming near the earth, it becomes conscious of the world. It realizes it will meet certain death if it hits the ground. Then it gives a shrill cry and shoots up towards the mother. The earth means death, and it frightens the young bird. It then seeks its mother. She dwells high up in the sky, and the young bird shoots straight up in that direction. It does not look anywhere else. Those who are born as the companions of an incarnation of God are eternally perfect. For some of them, that birth is the last. To Vijay, you have both yoga and bhoga. King Janaka also had yoga and bhoga. Therefore, he is called a Raja Rishi. both king and seer. Narada was a Devarishi and Sukadeva a Brahmrishi. Yes, Sukadeva was a Brahmrishi. He was not a mere Jnani. He was the very embodiment of Jnana, divine knowledge. Whom do I call a Jnani? A man who has attained knowledge and has done so after much effort. Sukadeva was the very image of knowledge, in other words, a form of concentrated knowledge. He attained knowledge spontaneously without any labor. Seeing this, Sri Ramakrishna came down to the normal mood. Then he talked freely with the devotees. The master asked Kedar to sing. Kedar sang, "How shall I open my heart, O friend? It is forbidden me to speak. I am about to die for lack of a kindled soul to understand any misery." Kedar sang several other songs. After the music, the master again talked to the devotees. Nandlal, Kesav's nephew, was also present with a few Brahmo friends. They were sitting near the master. Master to Vijay and the other devotees. A man brought a bottle of consecrated wine for me, but I could not even touch it. Vijay, Master, I become intoxicated at the mere thought of God. I don't have to take any wine. I feel drunk at the very sight of the Charnamrita. I feel as if I had drunk 5 bottles of liquor. When a person attains such a state, he cannot help discriminating about food. Narendra, as regard food, one should take whatever comes. Master, what you say applies only to a particular state of the aspirant's mind. No food can harm a jnani. According to the Gita, the jnani himself does not eat. His eating is an offering to the Kundalini. But that does not apply to a bhakta. The present state of my mind is such that I cannot eat any food unless it is first offered to God by a Brahmin priest. Formerly, my state of mind was such that I would enjoy inhaling the smell of burning corpses carried by the wind from the other side of the Ganges. It tasted very sweet to me, but nowadays I cannot eat food touched by anybody and everybody. No, I cannot. But once in a while I do. One day I was taken to see a performance of a play at Kesav's house. They gave me luchi and curries to eat. I did not know whether the food was handed to me by a washerman or a barber, but I ate quite a little. All laugh. Rakhal had asked me to eat. To Narendra, with you it is all right. You are in this as well as in that. You can eat everything now. To the devotees, blessed is he who feels longing for God, though he eats pork. But shame on him whose mind dwells on woman and gold, though he eats the purest food, boiled vegetables, rice and ghee. Once I had a desire to eat dal cooked in a blacksmith's house. From my childhood I had heard the blacksmith say, "Do the Brahmins know how to cook?" I ate the dal but it smelt of the blacksmith. All laughed. I received the Allah mantra from Govinda Rai. Rice was cooked for me with onions in the kuthi. I ate some. I ate curry in Mani Malik's garden house, but I felt a kind of repulsion to it. When I went to Kamar Pukar, Ramlal father was frightened. He thought I might eat at any and every house. He was frightened to think I might be expelled from the caste, so I could not stay long. I came away. Both the Vedas and the Puranas describe pure food and conduct. But what the Vedas and the Puranas ask people to shun as impure is extolled by the Tantra as good. So I conclude this video at this stage. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment and share the video. Subscribe the channel. Namaskar my dear friend. Next video number 31 will start with chapter 29 and topic will be Master's Divine Madness. Thank you. Namaskar.